How are you doing in Houston, Texas?
I am doing great.
Yeah, me too. I'm just down the street, but
Sure.
that's okay. I'm always excited to talk to you. Let me talk about you for a minute. Just sit tight. For all of our audience out there, I want to thank you for joining us and let you know that this is one of my favoriteest places on the planet, is Main Street Ministries. There is no bigger heart that you can find that is just here to make a difference, life by life, moment by moment with people. And so I was thrilled to get a minute with Barbara. She's got so many things coming up at Main Street Ministries. The staff is like churning it out there, and it's just a fantastic organization. So we're going to jump in. Barbara is the executive director there. And so, Barbara, would you just tell us a little bit about what Main Street does on a high level? And I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay. So our mission is to build paths out of poverty, empowered by the love of Jesus. And when you think about that path out of poverty, it's a 6 to 7 year journey. So we have kind of the very first part of it. The very first step of stability, which is to get an ID so you can get a job, housing, what have you. And then there's kind of the little later part of it where you have a little bit of stability. So you have a job, you know where you're sleeping that night, but you really need a plan how you're going to move forward and how you're going to navigate the ups and downs of life. And that's called life empowerment, which are workshops that help you with that.
That sounds like a lot. And you said 7 years?
7 years. 7 years. It takes time to build resources. It takes time to change behaviors, to change mindsets, to open opportunities. It just takes time.
I hit a button. Sorry about that. So you talked about Operation ID. Now that's just getting identification for people. And is that people? I mean, is that people that just come out of jail? Like, why don't people have their identification?
There's a number of reasons. Yes, people that are in jail often don't have their IDs. They've been in jail. They haven't had no household. They may or may not still have relationships with family, and so they come out and they have their jail ID, but you can't do anything with that. You've got to go and get a real ID so you can get a job, so you can get housing, so you can get benefits. People that leave domestic violence or leaving sex trafficking, they don't have their ID because their person who has been in control of them has taken it from them. And so, they're very vulnerable. They come out and they're afraid and they don't have an ID. And they really can't reach back to anyone because that would put them in risk. And then, of course, anyone that is homeless, IDs are a hot commodity, often stolen from people or traded in that moment that they need a resource. And so they also might not have an ID for that reason.
Wow. So what are the processes? How do you help someone get an ID?
Sure. So we have to make sure that they have the documents that they need. Often we have to order the birth certificate. Sometimes it's really simple. They're in Harris County. Sometimes it's super complicated. Like I was a military child, I was born. And so we have to know the processes for the different states and military installations. And it's time consuming, especially certain states take a long time. And so we just help them navigate the different pieces that they have to get that ID. And then we provide them the funding because often, they don't have, $16 for you and I, like, okay, big deal. But for someone who has no income, it is a big deal.
That makes sense. So in that vein, that would definitely help businesses, I would think, to be able to, that makes someone employable, right? Because they have identification.
Right. And here's the interesting thing. I just participated in a roundtable for second chance hiring. And I had the opportunity to hear an author, Jeffrey Korzenik, who wrote Untapped Talent. And he's talking about second chance hiring and why it's so critical to our society to our businesses nowadays, because our workforce, we all know, is shrinking for a number of reasons. And so we've got this body of people who are employable, who have skills, who have been reformed, that are ready to enter the job market. And yes, the ID, you come out, you don't have an ID, you can't get a job. We actually have an opportunity. We're so excited to bring our life empowerment class to a group of employees at a business who are second chance employers. And the employers like, we need to teach them about finances. We need to teach them, because they love these people. They love these men, right? And they want to see them not only do well at their work, but do well in life. And we get the opportunity to go and share a little bit about life empowerment with them, because it's not as simple as give someone a budget. And we can we can start talking about life empowerment now, because life empowerment, you and I, we define things in certain ways because of the way our experiences in life, right?
Right.
Other people don't have that same set. There's no right or wrong here. However, we know that businesses are built on middle-class norms. And so to be successful in the environment, we kind of have to know how to navigate that. And we've got to allow people to really reflect on what's brought them to this point, and how to navigate that and how to make a plan forward. I think I jumped way ahead, but I got really excited about.
Okay, that's perfect. You did it. I'm gonna also do some. That's great. Give me a second. I'm gonna do some audience checking here to make sure we're running correctly, because our comments aren't showing up over here. Okay. I might have to give me a second.
You're fine.
I'll give you a break in between. Oops. On my technical staff.
We have to hire someone new. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to ask you on life empowerment. It's such a unique title, right? And it sounds like, life changing. Would you call it life changing?
Absolutely. It's very transformational for a number of reasons. So, what it actually is we start with a workshop called Getting Ahead. It's a 5-month workshop where they meet with the facilitator. It's not taught curriculum. So there's curriculum, but they meet with the facilitator who helps support these conversations and self-explorations. They look at, how has poverty impacted me? What are my resources? Often we want to say, oh, finances, but there's more than that. What are my resources? Where am I strong? Where am I weak? What hasn't worked for me in the past? How have I used money in the past? How do I need to use it if I really want to get ahead? We start to set goals. We learn how our language is important. How I show up in the workplace is important. So all of these types of things. And we don't, I could easily sit there and say, well, this is right and do it this way. That's not what it's about. It's about that person saying, what have I done in the past? Has it worked for me? Has it not worked for me? What do I need to do in the future? It really is a self-discovery, and they learn so much from their peers as well. The peers start to say, hey, wait a minute. I mean, I know you've experienced that as a facilitator. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute, that thinking, I'm not sure that's going to get you where you want to go. I mean, you can think that way, but is that really going to get you where you want to go? So now I really kind of forgot the question you asked, but that's I wanted to set the overall image of like, what is life empowerment? And so, it's transformational when I can own my change, when I can want my change and own my change, and see myself as a person who has the ability to make that change. So many times people don't feel that way. When you're an outcast from society, whether you're in domestic violence, you're homeless, you've been in jail, you've been a drug addict, you feel less than, because that's how society treats you. So when you come into this workshop, 2 things happen. One, you're accepted, Your voice is welcomed. You're seen, you're heard, you're valued. We do that not only how we facilitate the workshop, but we pay them a living wage per se. So they get a gift card. If they come for 2 hours to this workshop, they get a $35 gift card to help with food. And this shows value to them. So all of a sudden, like, I'm a person that's valued. My voice is heard. My time is valued. My thoughts are valued. And I start to see that I'm capable of change. So the shift in the mind and the thinking is night and day difference for people. It is not, and owning that yourself, it's just, it is transformational. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would go so far to add to that it's generationally transformational. That when they graduate, they not only, speaking as in the seat of the facilitator now, is that they not only graduate with just and I would not say so much pride. Yes, they have pride that they finished, but they have dignity, and they have true goals ahead of them. But they also have a huge desire to share how that impacted them and the difference they made,
Right.
because of their wanting to either connect with their family, or impact their family or their children, so that they don't have to learn those lessons later in life.
Absolutely. I was always, when I first started here, I was kind of surprised, when we had people that were in their 50s or 60s taking this class. And but I'm so thankful, because so many of them are grandparents, and they will speak to, I'm already talking to my grandchildren. And so many times in the nonprofit sector, we talk about return on investment. We really want to measure that, right? And so when someone goes through life empowerment and getting ahead, and their life has changed, they're not in isolation. They're in a community, they're in their families, and they're so that word empowerment, it's not just like I changed, no, but they're empowered to share with others. This is so fresh and new, and so different than anything that's ever been put before them in the social sector, that they are on fire to share. And the wonderful thing is, they get to have social capital through this, because when they become an alumni, they are now a referring partner. So they have the ability to go to the friend or the cousin or the aunt and say, hey, this changed my life. I'd like to refer you. I think it could help you. And that's giving them power that they've never had before. You can tell I just could keep talking.
I love it. I love it. Do you have that for kids?
We do. We've piloted a couple of groups. We call it Young Adults Getting Ahead. It is the same basic curriculum. The difference is the mental model, which is, we use mental models because it helps really someone grab the material. Mm-hmm. So the mental model that's used there is that everyone is dealt a hand. We can't control what we're dealt, but we can control how we play the cards. So that's kind of the mental model for the youth. We talk a little bit less about poverty per se, and we just talk about like, what's your idea of your future? How are you going to get there? What are some options for education? What are some options for training? And we still talk about language and resources, and always, especially with young people, what are resources? Money. It's not just money. I remember one kid saying, "Wow, I need so much more. I need so much more to have a good life."
Wow.
So next year we have the opportunity to go into a high school and pilot a group. So they have what they call advocacy period, which is really like for you and I, our homeroom period. Yeah. And we're going to get to work with some juniors in over a year-long period. And I think once the school sees, how rich the conversations are, mm-hmm. and how the kids are impacted, that it will quickly will have the opportunity to build capacity there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Wow. Into the high schools and into the workforce.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
It's
it's
amazing.
not always a fact of just being, like necessarily in poverty, but also just it's also how you think or perceive things in your social environment or your community and how you're making decisions daily to navigate life in a sense.
Right.
Is that right?
Well, and I would also say we don't define poverty by um, money. It's not about money. It's
Yeah.
the extent to which a community or a person does without resources. And when we talk about resources, there are many there. There's social capital, there's emotional, there's health, there's 11 different resources. So we broaden that definition of poverty. I could say I'm in poverty. Maybe I don't have a strong enough spiritual walk, or maybe I don't have enough social capital, whatever it may be. But we're all the same in that sense of we have these resources that we need to focus on and build and develop.
Mhm.
And yeah, patterns of behavior can cause us to not reach our potential. You know,
Even so much as the way we do view money with people, there are times I think we've heard of people that it's not it is not just the lack maybe of the funds, enough to live on, but they are so compassionate towards their own, say, family, that they give so much they can't pay their own bills. So it's, because I don't want people to think that, oh, it's just bad choices or
right.
things like that. They're so, how many different impacts are there on poverty?
What do you mean by that? How many different causes?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, there's four bodies of research. There's individual choices. There's community, the way it's set up. There's policies. There's predatory. So there's a number of different factors that create. Yeah, it's not just personal choice. When we talk about the causes of poverty, we're not looking at just choices. And systems are set up where people can be held in poverty. And so you
Mhm.
have to kind of look at that. Even as simple as like one of the concerns of this business is that a lot of their men tend to have high interest loans for their cars and or
Mhm.
payday loans or whatever, right? That is predatory lending,
Mhm.
and it's intentional. It's in
Yeah.
low income areas. So until someone has that realization, like, I don't have to live that way, and oh, wait, I'm spending how much to do what? Like until they can really slow down enough and look at that, they're kind of victims to that. And I mean, you're right about too about how money is used. It is used differently.
Mhm.
Um, it's used as a resource, but maybe in a different way. Instead of paying that bill, if my Aunt Susie needs money, one, I love her, I'm going to give her the money, and two, I might need Aunt Susie down the road, so I better help out now. And until you kind of see that pattern and understand, like, wow, I'm giving away my car note, and
Yeah.
that's not helping me because now I can't get to work,
Yeah.
and I can't help anybody if I'm not working.
Right.
So it's really seeing those patterns of behavior, um, and identifying them in yourself, and
Mhm.
and question, is there a different way?
Mhm.
Am I helping myself? Am I hurting myself? Same thing with, we talk about housing burden. Housing burden, we really want you to be at 33% or lower. And often people just really don't stop and think about that. They're at 50%, they're at 80%. You're never going to make it. You're never, because you
Yeah.
don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Um, I had a great, we have a breakfast coming up, and we're having a panel of our graduates come and share. And yesterday I went in to say, hey, thanks, and talk to them. And one girl had to zoom in. She said, yeah, my car's in the shop. And she said it was this much, and then I took it to another shop, and it's going to be $3,600 instead of $4,600. And I'm thinking, yikes! I mean, even for me, I'm like, yikes,
Yeah.
$3,600. And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I had the money. I'm glad I had the money saved. And I'm like, amen and hallelujah. I mean, that's a big savings for someone who probably 3 years ago couldn't pay their bills.
Wow.
So, and that is this program, and someone being empowered to see a different way, and that they're capable of a different way. So anyway,
Mhm.
that was,
I'm
you
talking
reminded
like
me of
this.
that. I was like, wow, I haven't
Yeah,
really reflected on what an accomplishment, what a story that is.
that's a fantastic story. I'm going to head to the comments for a minute because I see we're for some reason, I apologize, I can't put them up here, but again, we're actually on screen, so that works. Um, Shauna, say hi to Shauna,
Hello.
our friend Shauna. CJ's here. Yolanda, thank y'all. William from Ghana, West Africa.
Oh,
He's
wow.
one of my dear friends. Love supporting him because he's on a mission there. Shauna, Ken says, do you connect participants with skills training?
Sure.
Good
So
question.
we have, that's a really great question just about Main Street in general. So we aren't I wouldn't say we're not a frontline organization. All of
Mhm.
our people come to us through referrals,
Mhm.
and we really try to stay in our lane, right?
Mhm.
So we also have partners that we refer to. We also have partners that we utilize. Once you're an alumni, we have staying ahead classes that are more smaller, like just 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and they're more topical. Like we might be just talking about emotional resources, but so they're either going to get exposed to some ideas there, or we're going to refer them into an organization.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, did we skip Family Hope by chance?
We did. We didn't really
Okay.
talk about
Okay.
the other
Let's-
offerings. So, yeah, you're not done with us after just getting ahead. We keep going. We have Staying Ahead, and we have Family Hope, and these are just programs that keep you engaged, keep you working on the things that you feel like you need to work on. Family Hope is for those that are really ready to go a little further and to really solidify their plans for the future. And then I will just mention really quickly, our Spanish speaking program is exploding, and we currently offer Getting Ahead in Spanish. We've got a number of funding opportunities where we want to expand all of our offerings into Spanish speaking so that our offerings for English and Spanish are equitable. And so we're super excited that it's just around the corner. April is when we should hear about one grant that's very significant that would allow that. We really open some doors.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. What a huge impact for the community.
Well,
for Spanish.
we're sitting in Houston with 40%
Yeah.
Hispanic population,
Right.
and and the interesting thing is the people that we have had in these classes. I mean, we have a current one going on too right now. It's over 30 participating, and we find out we're about 30% undocumented, 30% citizens, and 30% green card, like working on that process.
Right.
So
Right.
it's all people that are in our society that are contributing that need to be empowered.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, another question Ken asked us was how many folks typically go through this program on a monthly, yearly basis? Good questions,
Yeah,
Ken.
that's a good question. So we've done about 7, 8 cohorts of the initial one.
Uh-huh.
We typically have 12 to 15 in a group.
Mhm.
So last year I think we served 226 people all in with the different programs. So that's about what we're handling now, and but it is quickly growing. So
And that converts to a large number when you take that to the families served,
absolutely.
because that's the individuals, right?
That's the individuals. So that's
Yeah.
households. So yes, we do go and we really look at the size of the household because we
Uh-huh.
know that they're all impacted from the material as well
Mhm.
as from the financial assistance that comes with the program. So we do measure that number as well. So we're at 1,000, when we look at that number.
Wow. Wow. Quite a bit, considering the size of the the ministry to the size of the
Yeah.
serving. That's for sure. That's like man, that's like bringing the five loaves and the fish.
Right.
When I didn't think about it, but that kind of just like
Yeah.
wow, it's truly amazing. Ken said that's great. CJ said lack of financial literacy education is definitely a factor. I want to talk about that with you for a minute as put my facilitator hat back on.
Sure.
One of the things as we're walking through over this 5-month course is that we immediately start talking about finances in the whole picture
Right.
and and the thinking about it. But we also do have a financial literacy coach come in.
Mhm.
I think it's about month 3 or 4, as because that's when we see that the ahas
Mhm.
are starting to happen, and where they will also have the opportunity to explore that, because they're going through getting ahead. They get that connection directly to get further coaching,
Right.
budgeting, and assistance through that vein as well. So it's like these different organizations play a key part in, kind of, I would say, like, kind of enveloping the whole program so
Mhm.
that it just is able to impact people more and more. So, and they have different touch points so that they'll have
Right.
connections all throughout and in different ministries. So I think that's important as well. I'll tell you, I got a word for you from one of our graduates recently, and we were talking about language,
Mhm.
and he was talking about, like, he was a little bit argumentative there for a little while, and he was talking about how he would talk to one group of people that he worked with, and then his management. And he said he admittedly said, I talk to them completely different. I
Yeah.
talk to my guys like my guys and kind of get real down low and a lot of slang talk and things like that. And he said, and then when the managers go by, I'm like, you know, I get professional and everything. And so interestingly enough, like you said, it was the class that challenged
Mm.
him to not do that,
Yeah.
because they said, what will happen is you will never rise above,
Yeah.
and you're not going to influence them to also rise with you or learn how to. And they said, do you want to be a manager? And he goes, yeah, I want to be a manager. I'm doing really good. My managers like me, but they said, I just don't, I'm not really right there yet because I'm not polished. So they challenged him, and they not only challenged him, he received it well, and they said, "Why don't you start talking to the people you work with or manage like you talk to the people that manage you?" He said, "Okay, I'm gonna try that." So he started doing that, and
Mhm.
then he told them, "If you see me slip and start talking
Mhm.
slang and all this kind of stuff, say the word polish, and I will know that I have changed my language."
Mhm.
And and now he's proud. He just checked in a couple days ago, actually. He's like, he now is so proud that he's an example for
Yes.
them, but he
Absolutely.
also now is being really recognized by management. He's very excited about his opportunities, and it's like, but his own group rose him up,
Mhm.
challenged him. And, one of the things I think you have said, and I can say from the facilitator seat, is to understand to the crowd, is to say that facilitating is sitting at the table with are investigators. It is them that investigate how they go through this and learn from one another. And we're basically literally facilitating material and conversation
Right.
so that they can make their own decisions, not trying to convince
Right.
them of
Right.
anything. And even so much as there's no requirement on what someone believes or anything like that. It is an acceptance. This is one place they can step into
Mhm.
no matter what, no
Right.
matter where they are, that they are accepted and cared about
Mhm.
immediately. And I think that's just a huge difference
Yeah.
that Main Street provides,
Yeah.
you know, in Houston and in the greater world. We're at our time, and I know that you have a busy day. Tell me, you've got something, huge coming up for Main Street. You
Do.
want to talk about that and how anybody here wants to, they can support that?
Yeah, we on April 19th, we have what we call the New Beginnings Breakfast. And that's just our annual kind of ministry update for our champions and our fundraiser. We're having it at the River Oaks Country Club. If you've never been, it's a delightful place. And the exciting thing this year is we're celebrating 40 years of Operation ID, which is incredible. I mean, probably, 50,000 IDs have been attained over the 40 years. And we're giving the Waymaker Award to Phil Pierce, who is a amazing volunteer in Op ID for 17 years. And he was essential to some legislation that got changed around felons and IDs that allowed them easier access. So we're super excited to celebrate him. And then, like I shared, we're going to have a panel there that's going to help give you some insight into what life empowerment is. So if you're in Houston, we'd love to have you come join us. You can go on our website and purchase a ticket. And if not, we'd love to have you sponsor a table or just give to the event to open up more opportunities for Houstonians.
Barbara, can they connect with you? And if they'd like to get more information, or maybe they want to do like
Okay.
some kind of huge sponsorship, I put your contact information. I'll put the website, but I think people would
Yeah.
like to connect with you and see if there's other ways that they can refer in and or contribute.
Absolutely. And yeah, just reach out, and I'd love to visit. And you have questions about kind of our approach, I'd love to share as well.
That's wonderful. Last question of the day, or next to last. Okay. Do you need any more volunteers?
We do need volunteers. And you know what? Guess what? You don't have to be in Houston to volunteer. We have remote opportunities as well. So yeah, with Operation ID and Life Empowerment, there's opportunities to do client-facing work. There's opportunities to do admin type support. We also love skill-based volunteers, as we go into kind of growing our support base and marketing. And there's so many things that, a nonprofit, we have 5 full-time employees and 7 part-time. So we're supporting thousands of people, and there's just always more to do than there is time. So having our volunteers is why we can do what we do.
Wonderful.
Yep.
All right, last question of the day. I want before that, I'm going to thank you for your time and just sharing all of this. I think people have really enjoyed it this morning. Tell me this. If there was one thing that you would say we should do to be a good face to people that we don't know if they're going through poverty or not, what should we do?
Eye contact, smile, say hello, see them as an equal. I mean, so many times people are just not even seen. I mean, that was a powerful statement last year at the breakfast. We had a similar panel, and the question was, what do you want people to know? And she said that we're not invisible.
Wow.
And I mean, wow. You know what? I can, without doing anything, I can make a change by seeing people.
Yeah. Whew. That's
Yeah.
a powerful one.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's a good end. So thank you so much for your time. We're going to put all the contact information. Thank you, Yolanda, Ken, CJ, Shauna, everybody that got time to show up for the live. And we'll replay this later. We'll do make sure that we post it, and it'll be there for other people to see. Have a wonderful day. Guess I'll be seeing you later, but thanks for joining this morning. and we'll
Okay.
talk soon.
All right. Thanks. All right.
Bye.
Bye.